Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. We want to note that this meeting is being broadcast on the NUSD YouTube channel at the direction of the board. The broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. If you would like to make public comment on an item on the agenda or not on the agenda, please see staff at the side table for a public comment card. We would like to say the Pledge of Allegiance now. By chance, would our students like to come up and lead us in that? Yes? Thank you so much. The board met in closed session this evening, and Trustee Novato will report out.
Good evening. The board met in closed session on the following items: public employee discipline, dismissal, release, information only. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, information only.
Thank you. Might I have a motion to approve this evening's agenda? Trustee Pickus, thank you. And a second by Trustee Gasson. All those in favor? We have 6 trustees present plus 2 student trustees. Thank you. None opposed. Now we will move to our consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone would like to pull? And I would like to note that there was some supplemental information on item 14I, that was not included in the online. Oh, excuse me. Oh, yes. Sorry. It's like an I. That will be attached to the online portal tomorrow morning. Okay, it sounds like nothing to be pulled. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Trustee Novato, thank you. And a second by Trustee Pickus. All those in favor? 6 trustees plus 2 student trustees, none opposed. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to announcements from the board, and we'll start with our student trustees.
Hi, thank you. So over at San Marin, October has been a successful month for students and staff, and to keep us moving forward, we're excited for Halloween, homecoming, and the holiday breaks that follow in November and December. This week at San Marin, we're selling boograms. For those who don't know, boograms are small notes of encouragement tied with treats that can be sent to students or staff members. They're a fun way to spread kindness and recognize friendships. Last night, we played our annual Powder Puff football game. The pink team beat the black team in overtime by 1 field goal. The game got intense, but overall it was uplifting. Also, the cheerleaders showed off their interesting yet entertaining dance routine at halftime. Opening night for our first visual and performing arts musical is this Friday at 7 p.m. in the Performing Arts Center. The musical is called She Loves Me. You can check out our weekly newsletter, The San Marin Sun, for a copy of all the dates and showtimes. Our football team travels to Cardinal Newman this Friday, and it's a huge test between the 2 competitive programs. Football is currently the most attractive sport at San Marin, and the team has done a fantastic job at holding up to that pride. During the first week of November, not only is it Spirit Week, but San Marin is hosting Road Trip Week to promote the homecoming themes, which I said last board meeting. Freshmen are going to dress up as if they're in Honolulu, sophomores Miami, juniors Aspen, and seniors Austin. Leadership students will decorate the hallways and represent their spirits during that week as well. So our college and career programs are offering college representative visits where they give presentations about their schools. That's been going on through October, and we're wrapping it up with 5 more schools left to go. Something we've noticed too is a steady growth of interest in the UCs. I also want to update the board about our partnership with 10,000 Degrees. 10,000 Degrees is a nonprofit that helps students from low-income backgrounds achieve educational success by supporting them through their college journey. Tomorrow, they will be on campus helping students fill out their financial aid applications as well as set up their accounts. And finally, we hope to see you at the homecoming parade on November 7th at 6 p.m. Also, coffee with with Principal Boone is tomorrow at 9 a.m. at Trailhead Cafe. So if you're a fan of coffee and would like an opportunity to talk to Principal Boone, you can tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. October is one of the longest months, but we're almost to the end. Homecoming is right around the corner, literally next week. All of our fun is beginning. A fun thing that we keep talking about and learn is that homecoming is an amazing event with the parade and the football games where a lot of our alumni actually come and visit. So that's why it's called homecoming, for everyone to get together. Our week is starting with our Homecoming Spirit Week. Next Monday is Pink Out for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Tuesday is Twin Day. Wednesday is Pajama Day. And then Thursday is dressing up as black and gold and costumes for Halloween. Thursday is also our rally day, so we're planning lots of fun games, musical chairs, and a TP race, which is going to be exciting. We're gonna have students do it around teachers, so it's gonna be fun to watch. And then we're also gonna have our annual traditions, or our rally traditions, Finish the Lyrics, and our Yell Comp, which you guys should definitely watch on Instagram. Friday is a staff development day. Some of our ASB kids will be on campus to help usher for the staff development, which is really exciting. And it's also our parade day. We're super excited. We got all of our trucks for all 4 grade levels. It's always something that is an obstacle every year, so we finally got them and we're super excited. And just a plug, if you know anyone next year who has a 16-foot flatbed truck, let us know, because it would be amazing. Our parade starts at 7 p.m. and we're also super excited to have some of the trustees and Dr. Smith at the parade. Saturday is our football game, crowning ceremony, and our dance. It's football senior game and cheers. 11:30 for JV and 2 p.m. for varsity. Our senior homecoming royalty will be crowned at halftime, so around 2:45-ish, and then our dance is from 7 to 9:30 p.m. So we've been getting our chaperones, our dance decorations, and getting everything organized for the exciting lineup of our week next week. And then for other school-wide news, we have Chipotle Dine and Donate supporting our freshmen this Sunday, the 27th. And then our ASB EL committee is setting up a Dia de los Muertos altar with pan dulce and ponche in the library, which is really exciting. And then our clubs are also in full sphere. So we have Baking Club creating a fundraiser for our senior class with a bunch of Halloween-themed goodies that they're selling this week. We have Yearbook Club, which is also hustling. Their senior ads are out, and our senior quotes for all our seniors are out to submit. And our American Red Cross Club is creating a 2-week drive to support people in the hurricanes they're collecting oral hygiene kits, canned food drive, clothing, first aid, and more. Just like Braden said, our college and career center is also having lots of college visits from COM, the UCs, and this week St. Olaf. And our FAFSA night with 10,000 degrees is actually happening tonight, right now, at Novato High School. And then from MSA, our film club and cinematic arts are hosting an outdoor movie night. It's for Little Shop of Horrors, 7 p.m. this Friday. And one of our biggest events in MSA, Big Band Dance, I can't speak tonight, okay, is this Thursday. MSA has been working super hard, and all of our amazing musicians are putting together an amazing night. And one super cool opportunity that we got this week is a group called Landfill Harmonic, who lives in Paraguay, surrounded by landfills around them. They actually make their instruments based on all the trash around them. They came and they performed for some 200 students at Novato High School. And then we had some of our own students, Cruz Indra on saxophone, Chris Estrada on drums, and Alexis on the violin. Our artist of the week this week is Jay Tomasi in drawing and painting and sculpture and ceramics. They're very ambitious, eager to learn, and has incredible expressive and artistic skills. In athletics, Jack Alvarado, our senior, is our artist of the week on water polo. And that's all for Novato.
Last Friday, I had the opportunity to spend the day with our middle school students looking at career technical opportunities. It was put together by Daniel of our Nevada Unified School District with the support of the College of Marin. There were about 300 middle school 8th graders on campus. All the 8th grade classes got a chance to come out at different times during the day. And I'm told there were about 40 booths. That's that was a good guess, between the fire department and the highway patrol and other programs, that opportunities for students to look forward. So we have 8th grade students who are just beginning to think about what their college career might be. They haven't got to the point where they've decided yet. They're at the beginning process, and those students were seeing what's possible, and particularly possible right here in the town of Novato. So, and thank you, Superintendent Smith, for putting this together.
Good evening, everyone. Along with most of us, we were able to attend the bond tour and kind of looking at all of our funds and how the funds that were generously voted on by our community have served our campuses. So that was just really exciting to see all of the many upgrades that are happening on our campuses. Also continuing our site visits, I attended with Dr. Smith a tour of Linwood, which feels like forever ago, but it was a week and a half ago. But that was also just really exciting. You know, I have kids at Linwood, so I feel like I understand the experience, but being in the classroom is just, it's just incredible to watch our teachers speak Spanish and our children understand. I mean, at its fundamental level, it was pretty phenomenal to see, and a lot of the progress that school has made in terms of curriculum, and it was a really exciting visit to see what's happening there. So, thank you.
Snuck up on me. So I too went to the Empower Tomorrow event at IVC, and it really was a phenomenal day for the kids. I was just impressed and overwhelmed by how many different opportunities there were for these kids. We had the Women's Electrical Union was out, and then I talked to the metalworks guy. I can't think of the appropriate term, but anyway, it turned out they were related. It was his daughter-in-law. It was just really cute. There was just so many things going on, so many things for the kids to be exposed to and get an idea of what opportunities there were out there for them, and just really grateful for the partnerships and everyone's time spent to come out and give this to the kids that day. I also had the opportunity to be handing out helmets to some kids that are different school sites. That was from the fundraiser I did through Tour of Novato. So it was super cute. I got a couple of amazing cards that just I keep that kind of thing. I have a happy folder for good things like that happen. I also attended the Superintendent Roadshow, which I very much appreciated, and I know there's 2 more coming up, so I hope people will come and get information presented that's just super helpful about what's going on in our schools in terms of mental health, the budget, and just different layers of stuff was provided. The eco-friendly advisory team met last night. Great group of people. We ended up working on our value statement and kind of morphed into a mission statement, so we're really rolling on that, and I'm super excited. And I also attended the parcel tax oversight, and they are on track for their next annual report. So that should be coming in a little while, but super excited.
Good evening. I wanted to uplift our student trustee, Danya, who in the spirit of homecoming is on the homecoming court. So good luck to you and the rest of the homecoming court. It's a very exciting time to be a student at Novato High School in San Marin. I also attended the district equity imperative, so I'm really excited that we're going to get an update. It's a reminder that we have done work, but there's still a lot of work that we need to do as a district. So I'm really excited that that our superintendent, Dr. Smith, would be uplifting and moving that work forward. And lastly, Trustee Ross Millerick and I hosted a coffee chat last Sunday. So it was an opportunity for the community, friends, teachers, students to come out and just say hi. Tell us what you're doing. There's just so many exciting things happening in the school district. So hopefully I'm hoping to host another one by the end of the school year. But that's it. Thank you.
I also enjoyed the bond tour. We got to see some of our facilities and the upgrades we've had, and enjoyed Linwood with Trustee Pickus and Superintendent Smith. I've also kind of in a parent capacity gotten to enjoy a lot of sports recently, so some football games, and attended the Powder Puff game, which was very entertaining. That's about it.
All righty. I want to congratulate the winners of the school fuel softball tournament. So that would be the Sinaloa women's team and the San Ramon men's team. So congratulations. Yay. There is a road show. Our next superintendent road show is on October 24th, so that's this Thursday. It unfortunately conflicts with the big band dance, but it's at Hamilton, 6 o'clock. We enjoyed before the bond tour the Red Rock Run, so congratulations to our middle school athletic directors for making that happen, the cross-country run out at IVC campus. I am thoroughly enjoying my listening sessions. I'm going to each staff and just hearing what's top of the mind for them and what some of the needs are. It's been a really busy start to the school year, and it's helping us figure out what we're going to do next here at the district office to help. I had my first high school student advisory team meeting last week, and we figured out where we wanted to focus on our first area to make some change. And we have their top of their mind is mental health. So we'll be discussing that. November 1st is a PD day, so congratulations to Lindsay Broden, who's our new Broden, okay. She is our new TK through 8 educational specialist, or our director for Ed Services, and she has put together a fabulous kind of choose your own adventure professional development day on November 1st, which is also typically celebration of Day of the Dead. And so that will be held at Novato High. And so we're super excited to get that information out to staff very shortly. Also, November 1st is the first day that people can register for next school year. Woo! Here we go. So we have a TK information night on December 5th, and then a K information night here on December 12th. Both nights begin with an opportunity for registration support and enrollment support. Let's see. There's so much going on, but I have 2 more things if you'll hang in there. We have an artist who's working at 4 of our elementary sites. I believe these were school fuel funded grants, and he's a muralist. And he uses student words to design and create a mural right on the spot with the students designing that. So I can't remember all the sites it's happening at, but it's very exciting. And then the Center for Educational Leadership, which I will refer to later in the Equity Imperative Report. We were at Sinaloa today in classrooms learning as educational leaders and discussing, high quality instruction in the classroom. So I'll share more later.
Great. Okay, we're so excited to welcome San Ramon tonight as our presenters. Please come on up.
Should I have him do the mic? Is it on? I'll introduce you first. You sure? Yeah. Do you guys want to face your parents?
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Langford. I'm the principal of San Ramon. Thank you, Board of Trustees, for having us. Dr. Smith, we are excited to be here. We are going to share a little about emotion, and the kids have put together a presentation for you and hoping that everyone will participate. So before we begin, I'm just going to have the kids introduce themselves. So Emma, if you want to say your name and then pass the mic down.
I'm Emma Amfinson, and I go to San Ramon School.
I'm Josh Correa, and I go to San Ramon Elementary. I'm Danny Barton, and I go to San Ramon Elementary. I'm Cody Bundison, and I go to San Ramon Elementary.
I'm Rosie. I'm Adeline Gallagher, and I go to San Ramon Elementary.
I'm Malayla Dennis, and I go to San Ramon Elementary.
I'm Lena. I'm Mariah Oyobio, and I go to San Ramon Elementary. I'm Nora Levy, and I go to San Ramon Elementary.
I'm Zachary Kim, and I go to San Ramon Elementary.
And this is Kim Gallagher, our teacher on special assignment, also our DJ during In Motion. Okay, go for it, Emma.
San Ramon in Motion teaches kids about responsibilities. For example, 5th grade students get to go to school early and get the microphone and set up the speakers. They also get to dance in front of all the students, teachers, also parents.
I think that emotion is important because it helps kids get their wiggles out, and brains ready for the day. I also think it is important because we can teach the TK in kindergarten all the new dances.
The first thing that we do in the morning on Friday is fins. You can get a fin by finding solutions, including others, never giving up, or sharing kindness.
But there's one more thing to talk about fins. Prizes! If you get every Friday at Emotion, fins are drawn for each grade, TK to 5th. If you get your fin drawn, you get a mini dolphin keychain, and you get the option to dance on stage. There's also a staff box, which is for if a staff is seen doing a good deed. They will also get a mini dolphin keychain.
I really like it because it's like a challenge to be kind. I get really excited while waiting at In Motion to see if my fin gets pulled. Lots of parents stay for In Motion because they want to see if their child gets picked.
At In Motion, there's a lot of routines, such as Wellerman, Bones, and Adam's Family, and almost a dozen more. That's not that. And also, aunts, uncles, and grandparents and parents can come. That's why I love In Motion. It's one of my favorite parts of Friday.
Now we would like to teach you a short but fun Halloween routine. Now, if you can, please stand up and participate in the Addams Family dance.
You start by
So first you're going to check your hood. Make sure you have enough room. And your trunk. And make sure you have enough space for your car doors.
You start by smacking your thighs 4 times and clapping. And then you smack your thighs 4 times at the last part.
Next up is the monster walk. And you will do this 8 times.
Next, you do 8 jumping jacks backwards.
In place.
Now we're going to try it to music. And so now I'm going to tell you about our breathing. We do this thing called our tape measure. This is what we do after we're done doing our In Motion. So you're going to put your hands together like this. And then when you breathe in, your tape measure, when you breathe in, your tape measure goes out. And then when you breathe back out, your tape measure goes back in. So let's try it again. Now we were going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, but we already did that. Other things we do at Emotion are we sometimes have special guests and we have had police officers, high school students, and even Gingerbread Man. It makes school even more exciting. Also, if your class has the best attendance, you can earn a giant goat trophy and a popsicle party. These are announced at Emotion.
One reason why I like Emotion is because it's a fun way to exercise. Another reason why I like Emotion is because it raises school spirit. Finally, why I like Emotion is because all ages can do it. If you're a young student to parent to teacher. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
There's like different songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's our signature song?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8. And they chant, "Let's go San Ramon." The neighbors love it. It's really cute.
Okay, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. Now our wiggles are out and we can do the rest of our meeting. Thank you. Okay, I see no items for non-agenda public comments, so we will go to staff report 12A, special education update with Dawn.
That's me. Good evening. I will be taking my glasses on and off because I can't see one side or the other. So while we do that, it's fine. My name is Dawn Mawhinney. I am the Director of Special Education here in Novato Unified School District, and I'm here with the rest of the district office department. We are missing one member, Alyssa McDaniel. She is at her Sonoma State University class this evening, but I'm going to have the rest of the department introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Andrew Weir. I'm the Behavioral Health Specialist.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kevin Goyer, and I'm the Special Ed Coordinator for Secondary and Transition.
Hi, I'm Karen Erdman, and I am the Elementary Special Ed Coordinator.
My name is Kelly Horrigan. I'm the Program Coordinator for the Non-Public Schools and the Marin County Office of Education Programs.
And there are a lot more special education folks all throughout the district working for us. These numbers on our presentation tonight, oh, sorry, are you comfortable?
I'm going to go over there.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go over there.
These numbers change all the time, but when I was putting this presentation together, these were the most accurate numbers that we had. So roughly, Novato Unified School District serves 916 students with IEPs. Out of 7,405 students throughout the district. That is 12.3%, which is right well within what the state expects for students to be identified with IEPs. It indicates that we are not really under or over identifying students that need our services. Of that, they're ages from 3 to 22 years old throughout the district that we serve. 59 of them are in the early intervention, so roughly 3 to 4-year-olds. 49 of our students with IEPs attend non-public schools. Those are schools, they're not private schools. They register with the state, and they're schools that specialize in supporting students that we may or may not have the current facilities to be able to do so in our district. 27 of the students are post-secondary transition program students. Those are the students that are 18 to 22 years old, and because they have IEPs and they're not on a diploma track, We still serve them with life skills and supporting them in that transition to adulthood. They attend predominantly Marin County Office of Education programs through either Grant Grover or IVC, and also Star Academy also has a few of those kiddos too. 164 are in special day classes throughout our district. 37 students are Novato Unified School District students that attend Marin County Office of Education programs on Novato Unified School District campuses. This is a little funny of a number, but I wanted to make sure that we made that delineation because we still consider all of the kids of these programs our students for Novato Unified. 75 Novato Unified School District students are attending MCO programs everywhere. So whether they're inside the Novato district or whether they're in another district. Okay. I was about to ask someone to go to the next slide. I guess that would be me. Increased partnering. So one of the big asks when I joined Novato Unified this year was to make sure that we tried to increase partnering with families, increased information, and allowed for more opportunities to engage with folks. And so these are some of the ways that we've done so far this year. We had a new family special education information night for families new to special education. So their student just was identified, just received their IEP. What should they expect? And how could they ask questions? We had one meeting for that. We have 4 coffee and chat meetings scheduled throughout the year. One has already occurred, and one is in November. We will have DCAC meetings 4. We had one already in October, and we have one coming up November 6th. We have monthly newsletters out to everyone, and we've had some family surveys also. And all of the communications that we have sent out, barring this particular presentation, have been in Spanish and English. Surveys to ask families about topics important to them are also all in Spanish and English, and Parent Square at all schools to include all of the families that attend that school, whether they're in a Novato Unified School District program or in a Marin County Office of Education program on a Novato Unified School District campus. Okay. Increased inclusion, and I also want to point out right here, we also have 2 schools that are participating in the support for inclusion programs at the county office. We have a team from San Marin, and we have a team from Olive also attending that. So thank you, Andrew, for reminding me of that this evening right before we stepped up, because we are really focused on including all of our families in everything, and we're making a concerted effort to do so. All students participate in all the school activities on their campus, regardless of what program they're in. All students are represented in the yearbook and other picture opportunities. And NHS this year added another leadership class to try, not just for students with IEPs, but to be more inclusive of all students on the campus, period. Students are invited to participate in all school day activities that are appropriate. And a little story here, we were visiting a school this week, and we were asking about the Halloween parade. And the kids are dressing up, and the kids want to be part of the parade. The students in this particular class participated in the walkathon, and it was a little too much for them. So they came back, they didn't have the greatest of experiences. So what they did to be creative and to be inclusive is they're inviting their typical peers to watch these students walk in their own quieter parade that is more appropriate for them, and they still get to participate. And they still get to do it, and it's appropriate where they are. All students participate in age and grade appropriate school programs such as library time. Nobody is missing out. And mainstreaming opportunities wherever possible. And here's some wonderful pictures of some buddy programs throughout the district. They're just super cute kids everywhere you look. And then lastly, also to support Novato Unified School Districts, we are planning on including 2 new programs next year if we get approval from the county, because we do need to have approval from the county. We've done everything we're supposed to do up to this point, and the county will give us approval either in January or February. I think the latest is February. And the 2 programs that we're looking at
are the 9 to 12 Mod to Severe program, and we've identified Novato High School as the location for that. We've been looking at different classrooms, and that will serve students that are currently having to leave our district to attend a Marin County Office of Education program outside our boundaries. We have Marin County Office of Education programs from TK through 8, and then 9th grade, many of those kids have to leave. And this way we can keep those students here in our own district and be able to serve them with the peers they've been with their entire school career. And then the 18 to 22 moderate transition program, those programs that we talked about for the 18 to 22-year-olds are incredibly impacted through the county and then also through STAR. And we've been looking at the opportunities, if we're allowed to be able to do this and pursue this, to support the students, majority in the moderate range, and give them the life skills that they need to transition successfully into adulthood, and job skills as well. Any questions? And we're all here to answer. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation and the numbers. Do you know the demographics of the 916 students by any chance? Or maybe it's okay, I can get that information another day.
I can get that for you at another time. I'm sorry, I should have had that.
No, it's okay.
It makes perfect sense.
No. And then my second question is, with your coffee chats and your new family special education, are they, like, do we offer translation, or are some of them hosted in Spanish?
We offer translation.
Okay.
We've had translation at each of the, so when we did the coffee and chat and continue to do the coffee and chat, we asked the bilingual community liaison to support. And then when we've had them here, we've had a translator with the earpieces.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I know that was one of my questions last year.
Yes.
So I can see some improvement.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
So you, primarily Novato deals with students who are 18 years or younger. That's a high school senior, more or less. But you also mentioned the 18 to 22 transition, and some of those students are going to start trying to live independently or live in a residence home where there's a manager for multiple students or adults who are trying to figure out how they're going to manage their life going forward. Do we have a relationship with that body of service delivery, the residence home structures here in Novato?
When we work with students who are 18 to 22, when they start to age out at 22, our district and Marin County Office of Ed will invite Golden Gate Regional Center to come in, and they'll provide support and services from 22 on. They really have the knowledge of all the day programs and various types of programs for the young adults who are ready to move on, whether it's living in a group home, staying with mom and dad, or something in between. So we would imagine partnering with Golden Gate Regional Center as we take on this program and support students as they move into adult life.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much for this presentation, and it's really exciting to, I appreciate the focus on inclusion. That's something that we've heard from our community that's really important, and I have heard from a few community members they really feel that there is a distinct focus on inclusion happening this year that hasn't happened in the past, and you are reaching out and providing multiple opportunities for engagement and asking for feedback along the way. I just really appreciate the focus on bringing families in and making sure that we're meeting students where they're at, and also, potentially bringing more of these programs here so that kids can go to school in their communities where their families and their friends are. So just really exciting. Thank you for the updates.
You're welcome. And I would also like to say we visit schools just for the purpose of visiting and asking questions, at least 2 schools a week just for that purpose, not there for an IEP, not there for something else. And the principals and the staff are so excited to tell us what they're doing for inclusion and the different events that they have and how that's working for them. Like, they get really excited about it. So
I just want to thank you for the 2 meetings that I've already attended. Just so much helpful information, a lot more parent engagement, learning about the IEP process, learning about acronyms, hearing all the different levels of supports that we have in the different grades. And so I think it's a really great start, and I've appreciated the, how we've refreshed everything and making it a little bit different and reaching out. And it has been great. There's been several people that, have come Spanish speaking, and we've had the whole setup. It's worked out, I think, pretty well with the presentation in Spanish as well. So very much appreciate the outreach and expansion of what we're doing. So thank you.
And we love it when you're there too. We get very excited. So you're all invited.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. We now have item 12B, Equity Imperative Update by Dr. Smith.
All right, well, I've been talking about this for a while, so here we are. We had our first Equity Imperative meeting last week, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. Okay, thank you, Magali, and thank you, Magali and to Ross for participating and being part of our discussions. And we had several students there, so we have students, parents, certificated staff, site administration, district administration. There was probably about 30 of us in attendance. It was facilitated, our first meeting, by Tanisha Tate. I'm sure I have slides I'm supposed to go through, but I just start talking. So that's kind of the context of where some updates to the equity imperative have come from. So the purpose of the equity imperative, which is attached in the board packet, and it is 4 pages. It was a document that I received last year at this time, or maybe a little bit earlier. And the idea is that it gets updated every year with the data, but also kind of where are we in terms of working on our equity goals and improving the disparity gaps and closing them. So the last time we brought an update was in November 7th of 2023. It was cumbersome for a brand new superintendent or a superintendent to the district to say, oh, yes, I know everything that we're doing and I'm going to put it in this plan. And, so we did the best we could last year. And this year we took information from our meeting and added it and improved it and tried to make it more focused and streamlined to our goals for this year. It's almost like a mini equity site plan. And so we had already started looking at data in our 3 target groups in terms of students that are in many data points are showing that they need more support. So those are Latino students or English learning students and our students with IEPs. And the goal is to provide systems and tailored interventions based on analysis of data for these students and creating goals on the site level focused on these groups so that those gaps start to close. Okay, so when we met on October 9th, we had a couple of suggestions that came out that weren't part of the original draft I brought. There was a lot of discussion around the work that Dr. Anthony Muhammad did with us for 2 years. So he did equity audits for our sites. He coached site teams. We had some suggestions around those equity audits. When we met with him in the spring of last year, he really talked about the professional learning community model, which is to use data, help staff with cycles of data, make improvement plans, and try them out and see if it actually is making a difference for students, right? What are the outcomes that we're gauging? And so we are working on providing those systems. We are integrating those concepts that were taken from our work with Anthony into the LCAP, into our site plans, and now into the equity imperative. So it wasn't specifically outlined before in the equity imperative, but the group suggested that we integrate that back in. So that's why you see them in the document here. The other reference was the wonderful anti-racist board resolution that was done in 2021?
Yeah.
Yeah.
November 17th, so it was probably in the spring.
Yes, and this was a student-driven resolution, and it was very important to make sure that we mark that and keep that at the forefront of our work, and that was another recommendation from the group. So this was just some key pieces in terms of equity goals that are named in the equity imperative, and these have not changed. Access to opportunities that challenge, engage, and prepare, and ensuring each student receives necessary support and encouragement to succeed. The call to action is that this is a collective responsibility, right? It's not the equity imperative committee's work. It's not even the school district's work. It also includes the work of our community partners as we work together to focus on changing those data points for the better. And the call to action also includes how much we believe that all students can learn and succeed. High expectations. So the equity imperative also just reiterates our board policy and our local control accountability plan. We have AVID, which has been a continual program. We also have our first year of ethnic studies. So this is a 9th grade mandatory half-year course that's required by the state. But we are more than happy to be providing and offering that coursework. The Anti-Racism Leadership Institute is a consultant that is working with us to what we are calling building our data muscle. How do we look at data? How do we make sure we're looking at the right data and making the best goals and action plans to change that? We are also working with, I promised I'd talk about it, and it's not listed here, but the Center for Educational Leadership is also working on what does high quality instruction look like in the classroom for all students. So we're looking at focus students in the classrooms for students who are commonly or typically marginalized, and how are they functioning in the classroom? What is the teacher doing that helps that child and that student be successful? And discussing and working on that. And then we will be working on how we as principals and coaches can have conversations with staff about what the classroom looks like in terms of high quality, effective instruction. And I already talked about the ongoing data analysis and the continuous improvement. I talked about that as well. In conclusion and next steps, we have 2 more meetings. The Equity Imperative meeting group meets 2 more times, one in January to kind of do a data check-in point, like how have we, this is our baseline data. What are our check-in points? Have we made a difference? The things that we're trying, that we're doing with for students. And then also, again in April. We are constantly inviting our stakeholders or educational partners to collaborate with us, and we are going to be providing progress reports on our to the community and to the committee on where we're headed.
Thank you. I got a little bit of a cough. I apologize. So I had a chance to attend the meeting, which was exciting, and I'm I'm not going to be here next year. So I'm looking at this through a lens of what's changed in 30 years. And I go to Rotary meetings, which are primarily people over 70 or 60, or it depends on your club. And then I walk into a kindergarten or a pre-K class, and the demographics of the 2 communities are dramatically different. California is transforming in a very, very significant way. And this economy is not going to be successful if every capable student is not given the tools for them to succeed, because we need them to pull on this economy as hard, no matter what their role is as for us to be successful. And my concern is, I would like to do more than we've done in the last. I mean, I would like to have that I have done more than the 30 years. And it's the doors are being opened, but they're not being opened wide enough. And particularly, I look at the math scores, and I look at the range of how math students are doing. And COVID gave us all an extraordinary challenge for success, but we managed, not only Novato, but every public school in the state of California, and I think broader than that, has been challenged to make sure that those skills are being handed to the next generation. And I would just ask that we continue to focus on this issue, that we make sure that when we look at a child, what we see is their potential, not their limitations or what their circumstances are at home. I know Novato can produce world-class leaders. I've seen us do that. You look at Carrie Mazzoni or other people Barbara Boxer, who have come out of this Marin community. I know we have the capability of delivering that kind of content, and I just, somehow I think we could have done more. The sentiment talked in that group is, with people who have a much shorter horizon than I are saying we should be doing more. I'm with a long horizon and saying we should be doing more. So I would like to hand to Novato the task of making sure that, and I'll help, but I won't be here to provide the leadership. So this the doors need to be opened, and people need to be told that they're capable of doing wonderful things if they would just sit down and do the hard work. And I know those students are in the Novato schools. I just think enough of them, there's more of them that could be successful if we focused on that. So that's my pleading to this district to not give up on this and push harder on this. And I will help in any way I can.
Dr. Smith, I know that we have new leadership at Sinaloa and San Marin. Have those leaders gotten a copy of their equity audits or the plans that were done with Dr. Muhammad?
All of the equity audits were shared immediately after that last meeting.
Perfect.
So,
yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this, but obviously it's not just the district, it's also the responsibility of the board to make sure that we have an equity mindset, an equity agenda, that we are supporting all our students. So just kind of want to do a call to action, not just the district, but all my colleagues as well, right? Like, I would love to see that these numbers change in the next couple of years. And I know we're not going to change this in a year or 2 years. And we've done a lot of good progress, but you can't climb Mount Everest in one day. So let's get to base camp 2. And whatever I can do to support the community that I also have been that I'm part of, and also coming out of the school district of like my own experience. So thank you so much.
It was really interesting to see all of the pieces in one place. We have a lot of conversations around a lot of different groups that we're working with, and it was really helpful for me to see it kind of consolidated. So I appreciate that. What I think about when we have these conversations, I was looking at the data around reading scores and math scores, and we have so much work to do. It's sad to look at some of those numbers. I always think about how our conversations at this table translate into the classroom. The mission statements and the goals are good and important, and we have to articulate our goals to move toward it. But I wonder, what moves those scores is what's happening in our classrooms, and what changes are we seeing for our educators that allow them to do their best work with our kids, because that's what matters. It's not necessarily the consultants that we bring in, although that does help us train and help us do better. But how does that then trickle down into what's happening with our kids? And, there are so many pieces that we only have so much control over the numbers of kids in each classroom, how much time our teachers have to prep, and there's so many components there to think about in the big picture. I think the November 1st University Day, I'm really excited that is a choose your own adventure that we're PD. It's not one size fits all. Our educators get to say, what do I want to work on? And there's a lot of equity opportunities in those sessions that went out tonight. It was exciting to see those pieces. So I think that's a step in the right direction. I think it comes back to our conversations around curriculum, around reading and math. These are math scores we're looking at, and these are literacy scores that we're looking at. And when we don't have a curriculum that provides the right kind of training for our teachers and our kids, that's going to prevent us from making change there. So I guess my lens looking at this as we move forward is we're talking about big picture stuff. How is this impacting and supporting teachers in the classrooms working with their kids, which is, I guess, always the big question. But those are the kind of the questions that come to mind when I'm looking at this data.
Thank you so much for the report. And I think to Trustee Pickus's first comment is I actually appreciated how it was all incorporated. Like there's several different pieces. And the fact that we have a committee and having student input and stuff as well, I think is just so important, because we need to create like a culture and get everyone involved, because it's not just about us saying something and then it not going anywhere, sort of what you were just commenting. The things that I find within this document or how it's evolved has gone, in my opinion, even further by identifying and pointing out. Sometimes we make generalizations. This has more specific things about the findings, which I think is an opportunity to then leverage action. And then those actions, will trickle and develop and create changes in this in itself, in this document. So I feel like we've moved much further in the last 6 months than probably we did for several years. Because actually I had to stop because I saw my signature on a page and I was like, what did I sign? What was this? Did I accidentally pick this up? One of the things that it's me and my numbers again, but also having worked with the special education department for so long, on the actual imperative, like on page 5, I was looking at this, and part of when I look at how we progressed, or how do we take a look at seeing where we move, I know that kids fall into different categories. And so what might be helpful as we go year by years, this is based on how many students. So as example, students with IEPs, that's how many, but I know that they come in white, Asian, they're in all these other categories too. So I would imagine that they're duplicative, as with the economically disadvantaged. I mean, I may be doing too much granular work on that, but I think that sometimes because those cross, all boundaries or all races, that I'm not sure if it's skewing this at all in terms of the percent, of how many kids. Like if I added these up, I didn't add them up, but it's, yeah.
They wouldn't add up to the total population.
Right. And
yeah.
so just like a reference point, this is how many kids we had. And also it's a good place to say, this is how many kids we have, just total for each year. Because I know that despite the fact that we thought we would be declining enrollment, we're actually going up. And similarly, I actually just couldn't get out of my head on page 6 with the D and F. And I've learned how critical that list is and how we need to keep on top of it, particularly in middle school. And I don't know that this is what we would want to do, but I'm kind of lost with the percentages, because I don't know, is this like 100 kids? Is this, 200 kids? And if it was 200 kids this year, and that's a percentage of how many of our student body versus how many for the next year. Does that make sense? I think that would help be like, okay, are we doing better at reaching our D's and F's as a group? Because for me, this says stuff, but maybe not enough to be able to come back and go, okay, we did better. We might fix the percentages might go down, but was that because we had less kids, or I don't know. So that was just my thought on that. So thank you.
Just a couple thoughts. Everybody has spoken, but and I agree with everything that's said. I like just as simple as bringing the committee together, changing a little bit of the format, just rearranging and taking some things out. I appreciate that. So the work that was done in the one meeting, thank you very much. I see this as, our North Star a little bit. That's the way I look at it. This is what we hold ourselves accountable to, changing culture for our district, that we make sure we can. This is not just we've done this, let's move on. This is changing how we view our students, and everybody has to view the students in that same way, that every student can be successful. We have to get away from putting those students off to the side, and we tend, in our day-to-day, we tend to do that a little bit, and we have to just remind ourselves. So I look at this group as more of that messaging a little bit as well. You're leading the district you're leading that district with that mentality. This is our North Star, and that we all see students in that respect, that every student can be successful, and holding ourselves accountable. We have so many different groups across the district that are looking at data as well. This is another group looking at data, very specific to certain students. So I don't want that to get mixed up with all the other ways we're looking at data, of teachers looking at data, counselors looking at data. There's so much different groups, as I said, looking at data. I don't know what I'm saying there. I'm just saying that it's a focus, which is great. I guess that's it. I just wanted to provide a little bit of context. So thank you very much.
Two things. One, to kind of piggyback on Trustee Butler, we do have a lot of data, and I think the important thing is going to be what are the tangibles from that along every step. And you touched on that a bit in the assess, look at data, assess, that process. So the more that we can add in touch points with tangibles, I think is going to be really helpful from a process standpoint. And then, I don't know if you know off the top, but I know that we have discussed having different points in the year where you specifically bring us data, and whether that's in board presentations or within internal documents, but we should probably look at that a little more within agenda planning on how we can bring that information, maybe at the intervals of the committee, to this group, so that the community can hear about the progress we're making. Okay. One more from Trustee Millerick.
So I'm going to make it's how about simple for me. In first grade, I went to Roseland Elementary School. Roseland is an unincorporated part of Santa Rosa, and it is a primary Latino community. And they, instead of joining the Santa Rosa City Schools, ended up with a superintendent that took care of them, and then they formed a charter school, a charter high school, because they were an elementary district. They formed a charter high school that allowed those kids in that neighborhood, not whatever their ethnicity was, the kids that went to that elementary school had a chance to go to a first-class high school and got a chance to go to college. The model of looking the kids in the eye and remembering that these are our kids, these are our families, this is our community, is something that I've always admired in that district. I think they did it better than a whole lot of other schools in the Sonoma County area. And when I look at what's possible for us, I know we could be that good. And sometimes we're not, sometimes we are, but we could aspire to those kinds of models where every kid believes and has the path for them to maximize their ability. And sometimes I think there are times when we could do a better job here. That's all.
I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but if our student trustees have anything to offer from the student perspective, we would very much love to hear it. And if not, that's fine, but just want to open the conversation deal.
Right now, but I'm sure I've talked to Dr. Smith about this imperative for a long time, and so if there's anything that comes up, I will definitely make sure to share.
I will do the same.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay. Yes. Wonderful. Okay. Our next item is item, I think it's 12C. We have we have Derek Nell here with a report, the update on NUSD Education Workforce Housing Development Strategic Plan.
Okay, good evening. I'm Derek Dell, your Director of Staff Housing Development, and I'm here to talk to you about education workforce housing. And I want to start out, it's linked following the imperative conversation, and when we're talking about instruction, curriculum, it's linked to what we're, this effort here, our initiative to build workforce housing, because workforce housing is about the quality and the consistency of the delivery of our education here in Novato. So it's, even though we're going to go over some information about where we are in a plan to develop housing for our employees, we don't want to lose sight of the fact of why we're doing this and why it's important. And it brings diversity. It's an opportunity to bring diversity to our district as well. So starting out with our update, just wanted to remind everybody that we're following the California School Board Association's education workforce. We're in the advanced training cohort at this point, and we're taking more advantage of their services at this point as we enter into the very beginning of our development stage. As you already know, we've completed our preliminary exploration and our feasibility study, and we're moving along at a faster pace than most districts do. I would say all districts, and in fact that we're very successful so far at how much we've accomplished in the amount of time that the CSBA says it takes. But as we enter the development stage, we're going to be in a more complicated area. And what's a little bit unique about Novato, it's not to say that there aren't districts throughout the state that have a similar situation, is we have multiple properties to take under consideration before we can develop a combination or scenarios that are going to work out best for us. Some districts, they have like a piece of property, and it's easier for them to get through the development process, say, in a year's time. For us, it's we move quickly, and I don't know, I can't say exactly how long it's take, but this is going to be one of the more complicated steps that we're in. So where we left off as we entered the development plan, I met with the board in September, and we talked about a starting plan. So this is an update on the starting plan, and the starting plan is made up of 4 basic elements. First, it's giving me authorization to officially engage with the neighboring and associating organizations about our intentions, and to communicate with them to find out what it is their interests are, and how they would like to possibly collaborate with us or work with us as we go forward. So I've been in, first we have actually met Josh, the district CBO, and I have met with Nikki, the head of the charter school, and I've been invited to attend their next board meeting on November 6th, and at that point I'll be presenting just pretty much a summary outline of where we are in the process, sort of bringing them up to speed as to where we are with the process. I've had some initial communications with library and with the Community Action of Marin, and the reason we want to have a little bit more official conversations before we get into the point where we actually deliver a letter of interest or letter of intent, which we hope will develop into some of those more complicated agreements, memos of understanding and actual contracts. But going forward, we have to take into account their timelines. They all have boards, and all of their boards have work schedules, and they've got things on their agendas already, so we have to sort of get on their agenda. And then there's a little give back and forth. I'm finding that I'm going to have to probably spend a little more time with the updating and the summarization of our entire idea of the housing initiative with their board representatives. I feel pretty comfortable that their staff is on board, but they're working currently to come up with the timing for that's going to fit their timing. So that's a big part of our engagement process. So while we're doing that, simultaneously, we're going to go ahead and set up a 7-11 committee, which is the state required formal declaration of surplus property. It's a process where we'll put together a committee of 11 citizens, employees, and stakeholders that have specific representations that's dictated by the state. That committee will meet. They'll They'll receive information from myself and from our legal counsel, Jim Traber of F3. And I'll go a little bit more into detail about that when we get to some of the dates, what that breakdown is. But we have to essentially, on the December 3rd, I'll be coming to you for approval of the membership of that committee, as well as a resolution for you to pass to go ahead and to enter into the process of a 7-11 committee. And then once we've completed that process, likely February, we will then be applying to the State Board of Education for a waiver on the properties that are advised to you that we declare a surplus, and that you acknowledge or actually pass us another resolution identifying those properties as surplus. The idea of the process is to keep it as independent and objective as possible when we present to the committee, so that we get an independent and objective recommendation back to the board. But it's good to get it going, because the State Board of Education only meets 4 times a year, and you have to sort of fit into their timetable in order to get your application considered. The third item is the formation of the Education Workforce Health Development Projects team and its subcommittees. If you can recall, I put together an organization chart for you at the last meeting, identified 3 different subcommittees, essentially finance-based, communication-based, and then the actual development construction-based elements. Within those organizational charts, there were 2 key positions that we're going to have to go out for, and then on the finance committee, we're looking for someone with expertise in affordable housing financing. That's in addition to working with our JPA, Government Financial Services, who recently did our bond refinancing. That's Lori Ranieri and Keith with that organization. And so they're on that particular committee, along with the superintendent and the CBO, as we look for different combinations and scenarios for raising the necessary funds to construct the housing that we'd like to provide. Part of the process to date, the update on that is that I've been engaged with CSBA and their staff on the particulars around RFPs for these consulting hunts. They have a list of references for us to review as well. So we're exchanging sample RFPs, and they're working with me on a regular basis to help develop that, and we will bring those RFPs forward at the appropriate time through our executive team committee, and the board will be made aware of our progress in that area. But just thought it was important to know that we're getting a lot more out of our CSBA advanced training at this point. It's been an interesting development as well. As you know, the Marin County and the Marin County Office of Education has formed the Joint Powers Authority to develop Oak Hill, which is a affordable and education workforce housing development on surplus San Quentin property. And that JPA has recently hired its executive director, and the executive director is Matthew Heimel, who is the former county administrator. So he's very, very, very knowledgeable, experienced individual. And he and I have met and discussed sharing information, because that JPA is also in the process of doing a search and hiring an affordable housing financial consulting firm. And so it's just a great opportunity for us to be able to share and interact with that decision making. I think they've made a decision, and they're probably moving forward, so we'll have the benefit of their experience as we look for ours as well. And finally, it's the just regular progress updates with the community and our stakeholders and the board. We have a regular scheduled community newsletter that's going out. I've begun to schedule meetings with different service clubs. I'll put on presentations that are similar to the ones we looked at the beginning, that talk about changing demographics in the country. There's fewer and fewer individuals going into education as a career decision, and the high cost of housing, and what's causing the need for us to take our land assets and convert some of them into education workforce housing. So we're going to continue to explain what it is we're doing as we go forward. So then this is just where we are. Obviously, we're at today's board meeting doing an update on the staging plan. We'll be back on December 3rd, and that's when I'll have that 7-Eleven membership roster and a resolution for you to pass, to go forward. Then on January 27th, we'll have our community stakeholder meeting, which you guys have been made aware of, and they're on that org chart, et cetera, and basically do another update there. And then on February 11th, this is as far as that we planned out. We'll just come back with where we are in the staging plan. Should be pretty much completed, ready to start a development, and where we are on the 7-Eleven committee as well. And then just briefly, I thought I'd just kind of give you the structure of a 7-Eleven committee process. We want to do this in 3 minutes. 3 minutes, that would be really nice. We're going to do this in 3 separate meetings. They're going to be 2-hour meetings. But essentially, we have to start with an orientation of the committee members. We got to give them instructions, Brown Act, and the public process that we'll be engaged in, and then we'll introduce the list of properties that come from the feasibility report. And we're basically going to use, we started with 6 when we went and did our feasibility study. The feasibility study narrowed that down to 5. We'll bring those 5 into that group, and likely by the end of that process have that reduced down to something that makes sense for which properties we will eventually declare as surplus. So then that's pretty much that work gets done in the second meeting, where we will also review demographics, which are going to be enrollment projections, our site capacity, meaning how many classrooms do we have, how many kids can we fit in classrooms, just so we have a good feel for if we're in a position where we can actually have property that we can declare as surplus that we won't need in the near future. I'm not anticipating a lot of issues. We have those previous demographics that we'll be using. They all basically say the same thing. We all know that we have property that we really haven't put to use for 35 years. And so I think we'll be okay there. And then the final meeting will be to draft a recommendation to the board to adopt. And we did schedule a 4th meeting just in case sometimes issues come up and or the committee has more questions and we're able to provide them information for. So in the event that we have to schedule a 4th meeting, we did calendar that. And we have built draft agendas for these meetings as well. So that's your update on our starting plan, and things are going well. And questions?
All looks great. Thank you. I just have some logistic questions. In fact, we were joking about just the 3-minute meeting, and I was thinking back to the last time we did 7-Eleven, it was COVID, and we were all on Zoom and like the access and everything. So how are the meetings? I know they're being held here. Are we taping them? Are we putting the materials up like under workforce housing or separate? Has that all been figured out? Yep. So there's information and input from the community?
Yep. We are going to do them in this room because we can tape them.
Okay.
So they will be available. Not exactly sure how that configuration is going to work, but we'll figure that out to work with the sites committee that we have. We're going to have we have a housing page on our website, but we're going to have a 7-Eleven committee, a page dedicated to that. There'll be some overlap between the two, so that the dates of the meetings and the information that we're providing will be made public. The information we're going to be providing for them to analyze will be made public, and a description of the process. This process isn't going to be like the last one. The last one was done under the direction with the idea of school site consolidation, which meant closure of a campus or a school or something. This particular process is probably going to be narrowed down to focus on properties that don't have anything on them or have very little on them. So I'm not anticipating that level of controversy or discussion. Is really going to be more logistic.
No, I meant more in like, I don't know what normal is, because that was my only experience. And I thought, oh gosh, they were all like taped and we all, there was so I wasn't sure how the regular format would be. So that's helpful. And also where the materials would reside. Okay. The only other thing I was looking at, and I know there's a reason you didn't have a presentation to the board, but if presuming the March 12th meeting did happen, then theoretically the March 18th board meeting is where, I'm trying to get a timeline. So around March, the middle of March is when a recommendation would then be presented to the board, given this timeline on this slide.
That's correct. I don't have it in this particular presentation because it really is a to-be-determined situation, but it'll be our goal to have it at the next available board meeting. So if things go really smoothly and the recommendation is fairly clean and we're able to write it up in the resolution in time for and get on an agenda for the next board meeting in March, or if we have that extra meeting, or if there's other things on the agenda, it'd be April, I guess, that we would meet.
Okay, if you do want
So
before-
as soon as-
okay.
but it'll be just like on the previously on the schedule. We're driving, so if we can get on your agenda as soon as possible, we will.
Right, no, it's great. I'm just in my head processing you look and everything always seems like it's gonna take forever, and then time does go fast in some ways, but then slow in others. And so I know this is a step we need to take, and we need to be thoughtful and engage, with all parties that are necessary. But I was trying to figure out, okay, so we're March, April. Thank you.
Trustee Miller?
So, Mr. Nell, thank you very much. I appreciate the attention you're spending on this. I particularly appreciate, given the interest of the county, combined with the County Office of Education and the financial model that the county government brings, because the County Office of Education can't float bonds, but the county can. So they're partnering together, and that they get Mr. Himmel to be their executive leader. I'm particularly excited about what Novato can bring to this table, and that we should continue to aggressively move forward to make sure we stay in a leadership role. I think we understand what works for Novato, and there's people who maybe imagine us as an opportunity for them to get rich. As long as we stay in the driver's seat in this process, I think those risk factors are diminished, and we can make sure that the real estate asset and the process asset that this public agency has put forward ends up benefiting the community that we live in, and clearly a developer has to make some profit in their process, but we need to make sure the majority of the benefit goes to the housing needs of our community. And as we've talked, Nova Rosa, an example of somebody who's done that well before in Novato. So we don't have to guess, we can look at some models, but I encourage you to keep going as aggressively as you possibly can to keep us at the front of this parade. Thank you.
So we will be doing that. Just to formally, give you an update. I do believe we will have a lot of options when the time comes for financing. There's quite a wide choices out there. From a leadership perspective, very involved in as you recall from a presentation with the Countywide Trustee Association, we're forming a countywide coalition / cooperative with other districts in the county. This is modeling with a similar effort that's going on in San Mateo County that we hope to develop into something that the California Department of Education can use as a master plan. And just so you know, next Tuesday, I actually have Tony Thurmond set up a task force to study education and workforce housing from a statewide perspective. And we have Al Grazioli, he's going to come up, take a look at our sites. He's a former facilities director for the Los Angeles Unified School District, and he is on Tony Thurmond's task force for statewide education development, and he's very interested to come up and to hear about what it is we're doing and learn from us. So I can assure you that county and state, we will be involved and have a high level of leadership on this.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you, guys.
We're going to move on to item 13A with Dr. Sinyard. This is resolution number 5, 2024-2025, to authorize signatures for the 25-26 California State Preschool Program continued funding application.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, our amazing student representative and Dr. Smith. Tonight, I'm requesting that the board approve resolution number 5-2024-2025 to authorize signatures for the 2025-2026 California State Preschool Program continued funding application. This resolution will allow our designated personnel to sign contract documents for this current year for the continuing funding application and all related contract documents.
Okay, do we have any questions? Trustee Miller?
I'll move approval, I think, unless there's questions first.
Okay, we have a first by Trustee Miller and a second by Trustee Lametta. All those in favor?
You need a roll call.
Oh, it's a roll call vote. I'm sorry. I
It's
have
on
it
the
right in
pa-
front
on
of me.
page
I still
3.
missed it. Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack absent. Trustee Millerick.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have item 13B with Joshua Braff. This is discussion, action, review, and approval of bond project priority list.
Hello, trustees. Tonight we're going to talk about the 24-25 Measure G bond project priority list. So this is the priority list provided by staff, and at the end of this presentation, I'll be asking for your approval of this list that will then define what projects we're going to do going forward with the remaining bond funds. Just as a reminder, Measure G is the 2016 bond measure. That is now at basically the final. We've already sold all of the bond money. We've received all of the cash. Now we're just talking about the expenses side of this. So the last update was on December 12th, 2023, and you do have a I'll call it tannish brown copy of the presentation in front of you that has a couple slight typo edits. So just make sure you're looking at that one. Otherwise, you might see some slightly conflicting information. So at that time, we talked about the program, the status of the bond budget, what projects we have already completed. I've updated that in this presentation, so we'll look at those again. And we just kind of talked about what our first interpretation of what we would like to do with the remaining bond funds, we being the staff. And we spent the last almost year looking into a lot of those projects. We learned a lot more. We dug into our work order system, looking at what things were being hit regularly, what things were never coming up, and used that to help develop some of the items. There's also quite a few items that are on our priority list that were already there. So there are things that we already knew they were important. Maybe they were less important than some of the other things, so they were moved to the end, but now it is time to do them. So it's a mixture. There's new things and old things. The changes since the last time that we reported, we have an accurate budgeting of those final funds. That was kind of a question that we had going into it last time, was really what is the ending fund balance? Because the way that Novato had previously presented this information was to put everything in its own little bucket. And that included things like the interest that we received. It made it a little confusing, as when that money was utilized and pulled from that bucket, it was kind of hard to see just a final end number, other than when you closed the end of the year. End of the year, you saw exactly how much you had, and then July 1st, it was already wonky again because it had been redistributed out again. So we kind of undid that. We unraveled that, and we took anything that wasn't allocated to a project and put that in its own holding amount. So now, whether it came from interest, whether it came from a project, had less money than, we utilized less money than what was budgeted, and so we had a refund. We had 4 examples of that tonight in reductive change orders. That all just goes down to that ending fund balance, and now we know, well, that's the money that's left over. So we're very clear on that. And then also the big change is that the bond department is now directly under me. We don't have a manager between the bond department and me. It's just me. So here is the updated project list. It was small and hard to read last time. It's even smaller and even harder to read. And that's a great thing, right? That means we were able to accomplish a ton of projects. We were really able to get a lot of things done. And even though they only take up a size 9 font line on this sheet, some of these are multiple millions of dollars and affected all campuses. So there really is a lot of things to be happy about that we've already accomplished. And then we have some current projects that are going on. The main one that is going on in this building even is our security camera upgrade project. It's happening right now in the district office. All of the sites have had their first, almost full completion of it, but at some of our sites we needed additional wireless adapters and things like that. So we're working on getting that project to 100%, but most of our sites are at, we'll say 90%. They're almost there. And the district office is the only site that is really like in construction. Then we also have the Novato High School switchgear project, which after this presentation, if the board is to approve our list, we're bringing a project to you that is directly related to that project. So we approved the Novato High School switchgear project, and because of that, the electrical load at the high school will actually be able to handle putting air conditioning into a few extra buildings that were left off of the original project due to the electrical load. And then we also have the ongoing projects at the Novato Charter School. So here's the financial snapshot. Won't spend a ton of time on it, but I broke it into 3 main categories. The first category is the revenue. So where it says current year, the column that is current year, that is every time we sold the bond. So you don't sell it all at once, even though it's a $222 million bond. You don't just go out and sell $222 million. You sell it in pieces as you need it. We have now sold the full $222 million. And then what we do collect each year is interest. There is a limit to how much interest you can collect. The kind of good thing was that in a couple of the years, it was very, very low. And then in a couple of the years, it's been pretty high, and you're allowed to average it out. So we are right now, we're okay. It's not anything we have to worry about. And then the bottom left is the expenses. So that's the actual cash going out in the form of a check to all of our vendors and contractors and construction companies that have done the work on the bond. And then in the bottom right is a summary. So the total bond revenue, the interest is italicized because that is included in that total bond revenue. The total expended is 185. We have committed currently 26.2, and that leaves a balance of the funds of 15.5. The committed is not just those ongoing projects, but there's also some overhang for some of the completed projects, things that are like waiting for surveyors to come out or environmental study to be completed or sign off that could have fees associated with it. So there are some committed funds that are still encumbered for projects that are quote unquote completed, and we have actually gained access to those spaces. So now we'll go into real quick a reminder on the state reimbursement funds. These are funds that are provided by the state of California that are in direct relationship to the bond, but are not bond funds. So the bond we sell to the world basically, and our community pays taxes back in the form of property taxes that come back to pay for that bond, general obligation bonds. State reimbursement funds are you've done an upgrade of facilities. Usually it's modernization of facilities, building of new classrooms, or things like HVAC and sewer upgrades. A lot of the things that we have done, then the state of California will reimburse a certain percentage of that. So right now, we have a current estimation of $15.5 million in reimbursements. Why is it an estimation? Well, that is because until the final audit is done, which can take up to 36 months, we don't know if the number that we have been quoted is the real number. And that even includes when they have sent us the cash. So they may say, you're getting $3 million for this. They send you a check for $3 million, and then later on say, we messed up. We put too many zeros. So we don't want to spend that money until we are completely sure. The timeline that we have for these projects coming up, and when we talk about how we're allocating this money, takes that into account. That we should have all of the audits done and that money secured before we go in and spend that money, even though that money currently is in an account in Fund 37 in SACS. It rolls up to Fund 35. They're the same thing. So that's why I put there, we've received $11.3 million in cash. We have an estimated 4.2 that we're still waiting on, actual cash coming in, but we've only actually about 5 million we have the auditing done for. So 5 million is secured. And so here is our list of priorities as we dive into that. So we have some pre-approved projects. These are the ones that I said are not new, but they are still remaining on our list. $1.5 million for painting and siding at those 4 sites listed there. And then remaining sewer projects at both Sinaloa and Pleasant Valley. The elementary playgrounds. Originally, when we talked about the elementary playgrounds, we were talking about a full replacement of all playgrounds. When we went out and surveyed each individual playground, what became very clear was that the flooring, the ground, the rubberized material needs to be replaced. That is 100% true at every single site. We need to do something about that. However, what was not true is that we need to fully destroy and replace every single structure. A lot of the structures are actually in pretty good condition. They just have some faulty pieces to it that we can replace, and we can replace at a much lower cost. Then on top of that, we need accessibility added into these features. We also need removal of some barriers that are barriers to accessibility. An example being at some of our sites, they used to have sand or wood chip or bark as the ground, and to keep that all nice and tidy, they put up cement blocks. Right? Well, those cement blocks are going to be a barrier to someone who is not able to step over them. They're also sort of like a barrier just to having fun because they're big giant cement blocks right in the middle of the playground. So those are things that need to be removed, right? So there is still about $2 million of need, but the need is not to rip them all out and put whole new ones in. That is kind of where we started, but like I said, we've had a year to refine this plan. We've also talked a little bit about removing one if there was an excess of the 3 sizes. That was really if need be. I would put like the asterisk next to it, if need be. We weren't going to repair more than 3 of them if one of them was beyond repair, which is what we have found, that a lot of our sites have 3 that were purchased around the same time and are still in good condition, and then they'd have one off to the side that was real bad. And those are the ones that we wanted to just take out and provide some other type of space there, some type of learning space, some type of play space, whatever it might be. We've also talked about elementary shade structures, and even since we've talked about it so much, I guess we could put an asterisk next to that one and say that it might not be elementary by the time we're done done with it. But we've priced it out at elementary only. And we have identified all the sites that need them. Some of the sites have said very clearly that's not something that they're asking for. They're asking for something else, and we've been working with them. And then some sites have said, well, we want more than one, and our PTA is fundraised for it. And we're taking that into account too. But we're going to make sure that every site gets at least one. And if the PTA is fundraised the second one, we're happy to put in the second one and then just have the PTA fund that second one, which is the case at a couple of our schools. So we're happy to actually get started on this project as it's a long time coming. The NHS fire alarm, one of the largest projects on this list. The NHS fire alarm, as Danya probably knows, is something that really needs to get done. The fire alarm is a problem because of 2 main things. Number one, it's old. That manufacturer doesn't exist anymore, so it's hard to get repair parts for. And second is we've grown that school since it was put in. So what ends up happening is you keep connecting new buildings. And each of those buildings has, 50, 60, 70 triggers to it. So all of those are going into this system that wasn't built for it. It's done its best, right? It's really tried. But now we're at the point where we need to replace it. I talked about an option 1 and an option 2. That's a low end, basically a minimum cost and a maximum cost. And what we're talking about in reusing current pathways is literally reusing the like holes, tunnels, piping to run the to run the wires through. All of the product will be 100% new. So I don't want that part to get confused. Everything that we utilize will be 100% new. The only thing that this would do is relieve construction costs, because we would not have to drill new holes every single space. However, it could be up to 100% of new pathways if, for whatever reason, the ones that once we get in there, we find that these cannot be used anymore. And at that case, we're estimated in the $3.4 million. So I put it in for $2.5 million because it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. It's not going to be. We also have like new buildings. Those new buildings are probably not going to need new pathways, but the old ones might. NHS HVAC. This is the one that I was just talking about a little bit earlier. In there is that now that we are putting in the new switch, which is basically a new power. A new power in from PG&E to the NHS campus, it can now hold a higher electrical load, which means that we can now get HVAC replacements at the library and the 2500 wing. And we've also been talking, is it the 2800? 2800 wing also we've identified. So it's actually a third one on here. So there's 3 spaces that were left off because of the electrical load. Now we can put those in there. In Novato Charter School, what we've identified enough needs at that site that really the original allocation of 1.3 that we had provided is not where we want to be. We want to be closer to what I've listed here, which is about 2.3 million. So another $1 million in discretionary funding that would take care of all of the current projects that we have. The one, I don't remember I listed it on there, but the one that is upcoming next is furniture. So new furniture for the site that even if we are to do something in the next couple of years that involve new facilities on their site, the furniture would come with them, right? So these are things that are going to stay and stick around even in the transition from the current portables to whatever might be next at the charter site as we're looking into that with the group. Sinaloa HVAC roof replacement is the largest one on here. Now the roof replacement is something that has been identified for a while. The Sinaloa HVAC is something that was left off of the original report because that report was looking at 10 years and we are now in year 11. So in year 11, all of a sudden Sinaloa HVAC pops up because this was one of the oldest HVACs in the district. And it's not that it's just past its usable life. It is being held together with, tape and glue and just, a wish and a prayer. So we have Bruce, who is amazing, but he can only do so much. And at some point, they're going to go down. So we would love to take on this project this summer, and that's why it is the presentation following this one. If you approve this list, we will dive into this. At the same time, we will do the roof. This roof is, we've done multiple other roofs while doing HVAC projects. This one is just in that same way. There's no serious issue right now in terms of safety. However, the roof sag that's in the 300 building is not something that we would like to see get worse. Water filling stations, not all sites need them because some of them already have them. It's not that they don't need them because they don't want them. They don't need them because they already have them. We are looking at just the plumbing and the installation costs and sourcing the product for the sites that don't have them. It would be based on we'll call it an allocation for how many students they have. So we would want to make sure it wouldn't be 1 per site. It would probably be in the 3 to 4 per site, strategically placed throughout the district. If we're talking about something like an elementary where they have maybe 100 kids per each one of the water filling stations, something like that. And then the kitchen upgrade project, just recently we talked with the board about the HYA study that was done, and we wanted to price out the upgrades. This is to sort of take 4 or 5 of our kitchens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, six of our kitchens that did not get the love that our other sites got during the bond. And it sort of takes them to that, right? This gets them new sinks, new hoods, new fans, new, basically everything. We've already started the discussion with county health just to begin. Hey, before we even get started, what do you want to see from us? So that we don't have any repeats of anything that had happened before. This is $4.5 million, and $3 million of that will be coming from the food services budget. So we're estimating about $1.5 million coming from the bond fund. And the only reason any of it is coming from the bond fund right now is that CDE does not allow certain construction costs to come from food services. So we have to fund it out of something else. And the bond fund makes a lot of sense for that because this is all asset acquisition and upgrades. And so just a couple of key pieces. The IT infrastructure has a holding budget of $1.25 million. This is not a new thing. It wasn't something I added in. We've had it for a long time. And that's because there are some legacy pieces of infrastructure that are going to go out in the next 5 years. They're going to be at the end of their useful life and are going to need to be upgraded. An example of that is the head end, is the units at each site. That is the head end unit for the sites. They need to be upgraded, and that is something that is eligible for bond money. So we wanted to make sure that we just sort of had a parking spot. So that gives us the longest lead time before having to worry about it again. Because they are such a large expense considering we have so many sites that have these. The San Marin parking lot, so far we've had our assessment. We put it in here as the full amount. A full amount would be 100 parking spots. We were looking at potentially not doing that much at once. But if we do, we can pay around $1 million out of developer fees, as this is a impact mitigation effort. The main reason we're doing it is that parking around San Marin High School is atrocious. The traffic there is horrible. It's been reported to us that it's dangerous and it's not a safe situation because of all the cars that have to be on the street for parking. Easy solution is put a parking lot in there. So one of the things that makes it so expensive, though, is that current regulations for school districts. If we build a parking lot, we have to do 5% of them electric chargers, and 10% have to be electric ready, which means they have to be wired. They just don't get all the product yet. And then the last part is the remaining sewer projects. They're right now in the bond, but if need be, if we needed to make $350,000 worth of room for some reason, they could also be transferred to deferred maintenance because they are eligible as a deferred maintenance program. So they could be either. And what I'm asking for your approval tonight is on this $27.5 million bond priority list. I also put down, for ease of remembering, in the bottom right-hand corner, some of the extra information of the other allocations that are also being sort of tied up in this. The Fund 13 is food services. Fund 25 is the impact mitigation fees, also known as developer fees. And Fund 37 is the state reimbursement money. And that leaves us with, as we talked about before, we have around $15.5 million that we've secured but not fully audited yet. So $8 million minus, or $15.5 million minus $8 million, we have about $7 million. That is our safety money in case any of these things come in higher, or if a emergency were to come up in the next few years before we're eligible to start speaking to the community about a new bond. And with that, I ask the board for any questions and eventually approval of this priority list.
Thank you very much for the presentation. This is similar to what we've seen before. I'd like to make a comment on a couple of items. Well, first of all, the money that's left, the $27 million that not left is like it was extra, but that we have available to solve problems with, is like 10% of the original bond. So we're 90% through this. So it seems to me like this is the right time to be sharpening our pencil and making sure we're doing the right next thing. The whole presentation to me is focused on making sure that we've leveled up all the campuses. We're bringing up kitchens level. We're making sure there's power at the Novato High because the main transformer is just not big enough anymore with the Performing Arts Center and air conditioning and other things going down. We're making sure there's kitchens. We're making sure the roofs are all finished, including Sinaloa, the large dollar item. So it seems to me you've taken the direction I believe this board has given, which is let's make sure we've cleaned up across the district and everybody is in sound shape, because it may be a while before the community's ready to have the conversation about what do we do next. The other two things that I'd like to comment on is the money that's gone to the charter school, the 2.8 million versus the 1.8. I think that was the number.
2.3 and 1.3.
2.3 and 1.3. That's, in my memory, that's what we promised them at the beginning when we put this bond measure together, and we were just honoring that commitment. And when you look at their site, that's the money they need to be functional. So to me, that's the right answer on two accounts. One is we're doing what we said, and the other account is we're doing what we need to do. And the last item I'd like to comment on is the IT hold budget. I've had conversations with Dana over weeks and months, including some recent conversations. Clearly, as she's taken over that department, she's sharpening her pencil and getting more clear about what's the right thing to do. I think that money is going to go to very significant needs. The list she and I talked about can get way longer than that, but not all of it's needed immediately. So I would support, even though it's not itemized in detail, I think she needs the money in that department to make sure she can complete the work that she's been tasked with by this board and the superintendent. So I would support the presentation you've done, because I think it's a level up solution, and it's time for us to do this. And I appreciate your presentation. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Other comments or questions? Trustee Gasson?
Thanks, Josh, and for sending out some information to me. I think I'm missing some pieces, and as I mentioned to you before, it was because there was 15 and a half in the state reimbursement, and then there was 15 and a half that was remaining in the bond. So from the get-go, I was a little bit thrown off, and so now I'm even more confused and I need to ask a question just so that I understand and how much we have left. And that would be the Fund 37 on the cover sheet that says county school facility funds, you said is the state reimbursement pool of money. So that's the 15.5 in that one slide that's in that account. And then, so theoretically with what we've got, then it would leave like 2.1 million guaranteed that's locked in, and then that 4.2 million that we're hoping to get. Is that in general the theory of the amounts?
Yeah,
right.
Definitely close enough. Yeah,
Okay.
like that's the idea right there.
Okay, because my question had originally been worded that 15.5, because I looked at it as two separate things. I thought that there was this other bucket of money, so that helps a lot understanding that. And I have my questions in order, but then things shifted a little bit. So my other question, or actually it was a comment, thank you for the clarity around the play structures. My other question was about the, sorry, I had this all organized and then I got the new presentation. The upgrades, the kitchen upgrades, super excited. Just wanted to mention to the rest that, actually you were at the meeting, I think, when the eco-friendly committee meeting where Cody was so excited about all opportunities and the cool things that we can do and the way that we can reduce waste and we can get reimbursements. And so there's a lot of upside to that. And so I'd very much be interested to see the layout of the plans that we have coming. I know you said that we could have that at some point, but I think it's just such a great thing. And I'm so pleased that we're able to, with his knowledge and the money we have to do some really great things that will be cost savings, environmental, and just make us be better in terms of our services that we're providing or the food services for the kids. So super excited about that. And the last one of your last slides about the parking lot for San Marin and developing fees. I know we mentioned this during the parcel tax oversight, and it's basically, I didn't mention I was at a JLAC meeting, I don't know, last week or something, but there was something that was passed that changes the way that the developer fees were gonna be received or collected. So I'm wondering about the impact and the delay that will naturally be created by us not receiving that. So just want to be, and also I think because we were going to be using some of the our housing expenses out of there. So I'm not sure if there's going to be a significant impact to us, but something I just want us all to be reminded of, that the money may not be coming in as it had been, and that we could see like a delay because of that new law, as far as I understand it.
Yeah, there can be. Just to speak to that for just a quick second, both this and what we're doing with housing fits within the funds we've already accepted. So none of this is contingent upon us trying to get more. Anything that we got in addition, like anything that comes basically today, tomorrow, those would be for new planning.
Okay.
So we've
for
already
me, it's
collected
like there's
these
an
funds.
awareness that we don't really count on it, but as we're planning and thinking forward, I think logistically there's going to be this gap in having funds received from that because of the permitted delay in paying those fees. And I think that was it. So thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to share two things. One, I appreciate that you're being proactive about repairs and in a mindful way, not just because they're at the end of their life cycle, but because they actually need to be, and we've limped them along and in process in regards to talking to county health. And then also just, I work in finance professionally, and I also really appreciate the approach of kind of looking upwards on expenses and downwards on income just in case, and that approach is the type of thought process that will keep us financially solvent, and I very much appreciate it. And without any other comments, I'd like to ask for approval, a first and second of this item, if anyone so chooses.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes, you may.
Sure. Okay, this is a little bit, I'll be a little bit long. So I got on the board in 91, I think, and the first thing we had to do is have to sell off San Carlos for $3 million because we had a construction failure and no money to fix it. And we had to sell, we did a COP first and then had to sell an unimproved piece of property. In this $3 million. So here we're gonna have a reserve at the end where we got $27 million and we're keeping some of this safe. We are so much better off financially, and the buildings are not falling apart. We're not red tagging school buildings. So I am thrilled to be able to move this item forward, and I'll make the motion. But it's such a transformation from where we were when I walked in here. Thank you.
Okay, well, you prefaced that with it would be long-winded, and we lost someone. Okay, We have a first by Ross Millerick.
Well, I'll try again. Maybe somebody else will leave. I don't know.
No, we need quorum. Thank you. Do we have a second? Trustee Pickus, thank you. Is it okay if we vote without her? Yes, okay. All those in favor? 5 plus our student trustee. Thank you. Wonderful. We are now going to move to item 13C.
Thank you, trustees.
We will continue with I don't know why I want to call everyone a trustee today, with Mr. Braff and Mr. Delena, and this is the approval of roof and air conditioning installation project.
Ellen just taught me that. All right, thank you. So tonight we're presenting, looking for approval for the schematic design for the roof and air conditioning install project at Sinaloa Middle School, as well as the air conditioning install project at the library and building 2700 at Novato High School. As Josh indicated, we've since found out that building 2800 does need additional HVAC as well. Building 2800, rooms 2801 and 2802 at Novato High need new air conditioning and heat.
Just to preempt the question, is that information included in your estimate?
That's not included in my estimate, but we will come back with that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so our agenda for tonight would be for Sinaloa. We'll go over the general project information, then give you some site location, scope of work information. We'll go through the cost estimate and the construction schedule. And then at Novato High School, this is based off of a concept design. I don't have any drawings on this yet, but we're using historical data to provide some pricing. We'll do the same with the general project information and go through the site location and scope of work, then the cost estimate and the construction schedule, and then if you have any questions. So at Sinaloa, we'll be removing the existing furnace equipment in the rooftop units. We'll install new vertical air handling units, heat pumps, and rooftop units. We'll update the supply and return air connections. We'll reuse the existing ductwork where possible. This project has all new Pelican wireless thermostats and controllers for Sinaloa. We'll do an install for exterior condensing units, and they'll go in chain link cages. And then we'll remove and install new roofing in all buildings. So here's a general site plan of all 4 of the buildings. What I've highlighted in yellow are currently where those exterior outdoor units are going to go in the chain link cages. I've attached the roof report. Through all of those buildings, you can see that 31 years old at this point. They've all been identified as failing. So that's really increased the need to get these replaced. There's ponding water in several locations and leaks. We're going to be getting some growth of grass and weeds on top of the roof at some locations. Josh had mentioned the roof sagging. This is at building 300. There is some at building 100 and 200 as well, but this is the worst of it. What you're seeing is some deflection between the columns, and essentially about 1 inch is sort of what's normal. But as you can see, we have about 3.5 inches along bay 7, a little over 1 inch at bay 4, and then 2 1/4 inches over at bay 3. So we want to open that up and get that reframed so that we can get that sag out. The cost estimate. So we've identified the construction cost at being $6.7 million, with a design contingency of $338,000 and a construction contingency of another $677,000. We've added in the rest of the soft costs for DSA, the architect, even a hazmat consultant. And that gets us to $8,976,844. So we're looking for approval of $8,980. I'm sorry, $8,980,000. As far as the project schedule goes, we've already started the SD phase. We'll get going into the contractor selection phase, doing that as a leaseback. We'll also be getting into the design development and construction document phase, and that'll start taking place right away. We'll be looking at doing a page turn with the district beginning of December, and then having completion of those drawings as soon as we're done with that page turn. We've also started getting CMAS quotes from Sigler's, who supplies the units. Have gotten an initial quote, but we do need to make some changes to that. So we'll come back to you as soon as we get those prices hammered out. But then get into the pre-construction and the bidding phase starting the beginning of the year, and then construction starting summer. As far as Novato High goes, we're going to be doing a lot of that same stuff. Where at the library and building 2700, we'll remove the existing furnace equipment. We're going to reuse whatever ductwork we can. Here we're going to reuse the Pelican wireless thermostats and controllers, but we are going to add the CO2 sensors like we did everywhere else. We'll install the exterior condensing units on the rooftop, and then new electrical wiring to handle that increased power load. So I've highlighted the two buildings that are in this presentation that the number does reflect, and that's 2700 and then the 1000 building. As you can see, it's not highlighted, it's not part of this presentation, but the 2800 wing, as indicated before, is also in need of air conditioning and heat. So our cost estimate here is $420,000. $240,000 is for construction with a design contingency of $23,000 and a construction contingency of another 10%. With the soft cost of architectural fees, hazmat, CM, DSA inspection, that gets us to the $420,000. As far as the project schedule goes, apologize, it's a little hard to read for you. It's a little hard for me to read too. Looks bigger when I create it. Yeah, so we'll follow along with that same process. Again, I don't have a quote from the architect yet for this project, but he's working on it now. But we're going to get going on the schematic drawings as soon as possible. But we're going to follow that same process and do the lease back along with the Sinaloa project. So we'll have the same contractor. But yeah, that gets us to construction over the summer and then close out in the fall. Any questions?
Simple question, is there enough electrical power on that campus to transition to heat pumps?
They have verified that, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so out the gate, the map for Novato High, you said, so the 440 budget, or 420, is for those two spots, but you said the 2800 building needs AC?
Correct. And Josh has those numbers. Josh has thrown some numbers into his presentation that would cover that.
Okay, well, that's what I was just gonna ask, because and it looks like we're a little over, and both these things are less than what we just approved the budget amount for anyway. The only reason I was bringing it up is the 2800 building looks super big compared to the...
Room 2803 currently has air conditioning.
Oh, it's just one room?
There's room 2801 and 2802 that do not. So it would be two rooms within that building.
Okay, so
Correct.
it's not like a whole wing of... Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so...
I'll add real quick in there too about the budgeting piece is that we went over with a bit just in case when we pull off those rooftop units, they go, we have to redo this.
No, that's okay. I was just trying in my head think, okay, now are we starting to dip into the little we're left? But I feel like there's enough. I thought it was that whole wing.
We know that there's a piece we don't know, and that's why we sort of over budgeted it for this specific
that's
project.
Fine. Okay, I just wanted to understand that. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Okay.
Will we try and do 2800 at the same time as these?
Yes.
Great. Other questions or comments? Would anyone like to move to approve this? Trustee Pickus with a first. Seconded by Trustee Millerick, thank you. All in favor? 6 plus our student trustee, thank you, none opposed. Wonderful. We look forward to seeing all of you at our next regularly scheduled meeting on November 12th. Adjourned.